Hello there, fellow human. I'm Jerrel, and I too am a human. So I'm not a YouTuber. I don't have this cool, big, bombastic, fun personality or avatar that I can use to entertain you online, you know? So I'm just a normal guy. I make video games for a living, and on the side I like to make homebrew games. I'm hoping with this channel I can share some information for people that are interested in game development. I can share how to get started into that. If you have any questions about game development, or if you need some guidance, I'm happy to offer that. And especially when it comes to creating games for legacy consoles like the PSP and the DS, I'd like to share information to help you guys get started, and also we can just discuss and we can share projects with each other as well. So again, I'm not a YouTuber, I'm just a normal guy, so I think some people subscribe expecting that, you know, I'll do a bunch of big funny stuff. I'm just a normal human being, and I want to make cool games for you guys. So what I'm working on right now is something I'm pretty excited about. I'm usually working on a number of projects at a time. I usually have one big commercial product that I work on, and then a smaller commercial product, and then probably one or two smaller homebrew projects on the side. And that is because when you're working on a project, you can get burned out very easily, and if you just keep chipping away at it, you're going to get extremely discouraged, and often projects will end up dead because of that. So I set up multiple projects in terms of scale so that I have my main project that I'm working on, and when I can detect that I'm starting to get burned out on that, I just move on to the smaller commercial title. I do a little bit of work on that. When I find that I'm getting burned out on that, then I gear down and then I work on some homebrew games which are just purely fun. And that's kind of like a chance to just catch my breath, to rest and relax. And usually within about a week or so, I'll feel recharged, and then I can get back to working on my main project. And this is after decades of game development experience, that this method works for me. Maybe it won't work for everyone, but it definitely works for me. And that's why I've been able to get so many projects completed and shipped in such a short amount of time, is I avoid the burnout by just finding a passion project. So what I've been working on the past couple of weeks is I have been coming up with a number of different concepts. I've got like 20 sitting in my digital notebook now, and this is the one that I've settled on as my intro project for learning new legacy platforms. So I've been learning and collecting development kits for as many different legacy platforms as I can, including the Dreamcast, the Sega Saturn, the Jaguar, the N64, and it takes time not just to develop games for those, but to learn how to use the tools. And so I've been coming up with a bunch of different projects that would give me the opportunity to learn those development tools while being able to create and ship a homebrew title. And I'd like to share with you what I've come up with. And this is a title that, if I launch something on a legacy platform now as a homebrew game, this is going to be the first title that I ship on those platforms, because it's designed specifically for me to learn those platforms. And so it's tentatively called Alone in the Cabin, and it is a horror game where you sit inside of a cabin, and it starts out innocuously enough, but you start hearing sounds outside the cabin. You hear knocking, you hear scraping and scratches, and eventually some creatures outside the cabin try to get inside. And so your job in playing the game is to manage your resources, to collect items and use items in the right places to stop creatures from getting into the cabin. There is a front door, there are some windows, so the gameplay would involve, you know, picking up items and using them in the right places, moving furniture around to fortify the windows, but you have limited resources, of course. The game uses entirely pre-rendered background visuals, which means that I don't have to worry about sprite collision or creating detailed tile maps. So that means that I can create this game extremely quickly using shared resources. I'll be using the high-quality pre-rendered graphics, and then of course downsampling them and repainting them to fit onto different consoles. For example, the Neo Geo Pocket, which I recently was able to find a very rare software development kit for. So I have the software set up, I've deployed it wrong. So I'll just give you just a quick look at some of the platforms that I'll be developing that for. Right off the bat, the PSP is the absolute easiest thing for me to develop on, and that's because I can use Game Maker 8. I have the DS version, I'm using DS Game Maker, which allows me to create games very quickly. Alone in the Cabin will be my very first DS game that is not about kissing. But if you do want to try my Silver Falls game on the DS that I launched on April Fool's, you can go ahead into the itch.io. I'll put the link in the description. You can try that. It's an actual real game. I'll be making a version for the Game Boy Color. And of course, I will be able to produce physical cartridges, as people have been asking me for years. And thanks to our Patreon supporters, I was able to get the hardware to create physical cartridges. I will also do a Game Boy Advanced game of Alone in the Cabin. This is wish fulfillment for me because I really adore this platform, and I really want to start making games for that. I'm also going to do a version for Lynx. I use Butano, GBA is the development kit for that. I'm going to make a version for the Lynx, and I'm using 8-bit Unity for the Lynx version. I may potentially do a version for the Atari 2600 because it's a gameplay style that actually could work on the 2600. And I'm also going to do a version for old Nokia phones. If you have an old Nokia phone that runs those Java games, go ahead and dig them out. And I'll be making games regularly. And it's, again, I'll be polling people and asking where they want games on platforms. It'll be up to you guys. You know, you get to pick where I focus my attention on in terms of homebrew. And of course, I'll still do things, you know, outside of people voting. But I want to make sure that I can make games for the hardware that you guys enjoy using. I'll be making a version for KaiOS as well, which is a very cool modern mobile phone platform that's lightweight. It's not exactly a dumb phone, but it's not bogged down with social media, which is very nice. Alone in the Cabin will have a version on the Game Gear. I don't have it with me as well. I'm waiting to receive the stuff, and then I have to repair the Game Gear, replace the capacitors, but I'll be ordering later today. I'll be ordering the flashing hardware for the cartridges. I'm in touch with the manufacturer so I can get more cartridges produced, so that's just for you guys. So there are other platforms that I want to look into as well, but I don't have available at the moment, and those platforms are the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I have a software development kit for that, but I don't have the hardware. I would like to develop for the Wonder Swan as well. Based on votes as well, it seems people are interested in the Virtual Boy. I don't have a Virtual Boy, but I do have all of the development environment set up for Virtual Boy. I have, when I'm able to obtain a Virtual Boy at some point, then I will start homebrew development. But I only do homebrew development for games that I can run on actual hardware, if I have the actual hardware. The reason being is I'm not interested in creating games for emulators. It's not interesting to me. If I make a game, I want to run it on actual hardware. It's not interesting for me to run it on emulators. And that's the genuine way to create a game, because there are people out there who have flash cartridges that will want to play new games on the actual hardware. And if you don't run it on actual hardware, then you can't really fully test it. Testing on emulators is only one small part of the testing process. You really need to run a game on actual hardware to see how it actually runs. So I recently obtained a Dreamcast so I can develop games for that, and that was because people just kept asking and asking, especially after the Breath of Thunder Kickstarter campaign. People have just been messaging asking me to make Dreamcast games, so I picked up a Dreamcast, so I will make Alone in the Cabin for the Dreamcast. I'm wondering how I can use the VMU. I haven't started my development notes on that. I'm going to do these smaller versions first, but I'm pretty excited to see what I can do with the VMU. It's just so cool. I do have to work in assembly, which is my weak spot right now as a developer. But hey, we'll see what I can do with that. In the future, I would like to obtain a Sega Saturn and do Alone in the Cabin for the Saturn. I really would like to do a version for the Jaguar and the N64. I don't have those consoles right now, but over time I will pick up those consoles and the flashing hardware for the cartridges, and I will develop versions. So let me know in the comments which versions you would really like to see. I created this concept specifically because I can make platform-specific unique features and quirks, you know. Obviously, I have to tailor each version of the game to the platform that it's on, and that is something that is so interesting and exciting to me that we don't really see that much these days, because there's a homogenization of our platforms and the game development process. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it results in just less platform quirks. you know. And I think that's going to be very fun, and that's why I'm doing this. And Alone in the Cabin is designed, again, so I can very quickly create a game that I can ship out, and it can be an actual functional game. But the process of creating that game allows me to actually learn developing for the platform. So, oh, I forgot to mention I'm doing a version for the Pokemon Mini as well. Thanks to a successful Kickstarter campaign, I was able to obtain a Pokemon Mini, and now I can create Pokemon Mini games for you guys. I've already shipped one free homebrew game on the Mini, which is a Silver Falls game, and I can do more. So I'm not sure if you guys really want me to create, because I've had a lot of demand for, say, for example, the Virtual Boy. Maybe we can do a Kickstarter campaign to allow me to get a Virtual Boy and the flash cartridge hardware. And if I have that, then I will create Virtual Boy games. So please look forward to Alone in the Cabin. Keep an eye out here on YouTube and on social media, and I will share the versions as I launch them. I'll put them on itch.io. They'll be absolutely free. You can donate if you want, $1 or $2 here and there, because that goes a long way. I try to use what you guys contribute. If it's a slow month for my commercial games, it really does help me keep the lights on in the studio. But if I can, I try to put your contributions towards more homebrew platforms so that I can get back to you guys and I can create something cool for you guys. So I hope you're looking forward to that. And so special thanks again to our Patreon supporters who helped me sort out Game Gear stuff. I'll put a vote now, and we'll see what homebrew platform you guys want me to get next. Thanks everyone, and please look forward. I'll be launching the first versions of Alone in the Cabin very soon. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Again, I want to give special thanks to everyone who's contributed on Patreon in the past and currently. Thank you guys so much, and now I've successfully been able to pick up the Game Gear hardware, so I'll be making Game Gear homebrew. And of course, if you don't own a Game Gear, you'll still be able to play the ROMs for free, and you'll get to enjoy the unique quirks of a game made for the Game Gear using whatever emulation hardware or software you like. So I'm going to put a poll up now, and we can all vote on whether we want to contribute the Patreon funds towards an N64, a Saturn, a Super Nintendo, or Neo Geo Pocket. I tend to focus on platforms where I can potentially produce physical games. I can get the hardware to create cartridges, and that way I can actually create real games for all of you guys long term. So thank you to everyone again. Please take care of yourselves and check out the poll, and be sure to vote and let me know which console you would like to see me create more games for. Take care.